Hi. I'm an old guy who watches Doctor Who, in case you want the thoughts of someone who was there back in the 70s, which is when it was first broadcast in America. Today I'm ranking Davros stories, which is really an excuse to talk about them. There are 7, spread across classic and new Who, and a majority are good, with several being great. As the Daleks have always been a metaphor for Nazis and fascists, Davros, their creator, was metaphorically a combination of Hitler and Mengele. Textually, he was a fanatical scientist of the Kaled race from the planet Skaro, burned and blinded in a nuclear attack. He was a brilliant scientist, but that was it. As the show went on, Davros was given superhuman intelligence and near-magical techno-powers to explain why he kept coming back. Well, Doctor Who canon was never strict. First, in honorable mention to Destination Skaro, a comedy short charity special with the 14th Doctor accidentally crashing into a Dalek travel machine that Davros was still designing. It's very funny, and Tennant is great. Is this version of Davros canon? We'll see if it ever pops up in a regular episode. Until then, it doesn't matter, and makes me laugh. So, on to the full stories, starting with the least. Number 7. Resurrection of the Daleks, 1984. The unhappiest TARDIS team, having a miserable time as they usually did, run into a situation that is worth being miserable about in an episode infamous for its death toll. The plot has the Daleks freeing a cryogenically frozen Davros so he can come up with a cure for a bioweapon which has been wiping them out. But Davros doesn't trust them, rightly, so instead schemes to take over, and the Doctor and crew run around in the middle of it all. They go here and there, but it rarely matters. All the violence and death would work great if the Daleks weren't so feeble and the firefights weren't so poorly staged. This starts off with one of the most pathetic Dalek attacks in Who history. One bomb, set off by just a few soldiers, kills 2 Daleks, and the rest run away, with the claim that the soldiers' position was just too strong. No. Other combats involve sneaking up in plain sight. There's a lot of filler. A group tries to set off the station's self-destruct, but fail and die. The thread goes nowhere, but we spend time with it. Likewise, Davros is visited, 1 by 1, and then 2 by 2, with each in turn given a shot making them his slaves. I got the idea after the first, certainly after the second. It got silly after that. And the humans wearing children's plastic Dalek helmets is exactly the sort of thing that gave 80s Who such a bad reputation with the general public. As this is a Davros list, how is Davros? Terry Malloy does a decent job with the voice. A little too shouty for me, but decent. The mask is passable, although it's clearly a mask. Davros' plan isn't really much of a plan, and it's going nowhere from the start. And here's a good example of why you should never expect continuity in a Dalek story, or a Davros story. When the Dalek-Mavellan War is mentioned, Davros says,
"Fascinating! If only I'd been there."
Except he was. That's the plot of a chronologically earlier Davros story that's later on this list. He was literally there. The one memorable line of the serial is Tegan's farewell.
"If you stop enjoying it, give it up.
Tegan.
It's stopped being fun, Doctor."
Of course she should have said that a few seasons ago, but yeah, this isn't fun. For new Who fans who don't know the classic show, this isn't where you should go if you want to learn more about Davros. Number 6. Revelation of the Daleks, 1985. Another unhappy TARDIS. The 6th Doctor and Perry travel to a cryogenic mortuary that is actually run by Davros, calling him the Great Healer, who has developed a method of turning humans into Daleks. It won't be the last time humans were turned into Daleks, and it's always a questionable plot. Doesn't fit with a Dalek's obsession with purity. This is often taken as the best or second best episode of the 6th Doctor's run, and yeah, I won't argue against that, but it's easier to find problems than things that work. The structure is all off. The Doctor and Perry spend half the entire story just walking in the cold toward the mortuary. There are also so many extra characters with side plots. The factory owner who opposes Davros, the knight-like assassin and his unhygienic squire targeting Davros, the rebels infiltrating to find a father, the womanizing mortician and his subordinate who is obsessed with him, the henchman, and the DJ playing classic rock to the frozen corpses. That's a lot of characters and stories. Too many, at least for the length and for the skills of writer Eric Sayward. Some are good, some less so. A couple are irrelevant, but the most irrelevant are the Doctor and Perry. They don't do anything. It's the henchmen, and to a lesser extent the assassin, who deal with the big problem. I like Colin Baker here, as I usually do, but his stories rarely did him any favors, and here he just exists. And how's Davros? It's the same actor and same mask as in Resurrection of the Daleks, so that's good. We do just see his head rotating around for much of the story, which is less good. And this is a combat Davros who shoots lightning quite a bit, which is good or not depending on what you are looking for. It is very active. Again, this isn't an essential Davros story, or an essential Dalek one, but it's not a bad time. Number 5. Destiny of the Daleks, 1979. Well, this is more fun. It's not sensible, and plays havoc with canon, but I'll take fun over canon any day. The fun comes almost exclusively from the interactions between the Fourth Doctor and companion Romana 2, starting with Romana choosing just to regenerate for the fun of it, and trying on several bodies. Anyone thinking Bi-Generation screwed up how regeneration works is gonna have an aneurysm with this episode. And if you're thinking the 12th Doctor is regenerating into a face he knows was a new thing, nope. Romana just chooses a princess from a previous story. I find it funny. Plus, I love Lalla Ward. A great companion with tons of chemistry with the 4th Doctor. Like the previous entries, there's a lot of filler, walking around through unimpressive hallway sets and chatting. However, the filler may be pointless, but it is consistently amusing. As for the story, it has the Daleks facing off against the Disco Mavellans and their fabulous outfits. Neither side can beat the other in their ongoing war, so the Daleks spend the first 2 episodes digging for something to give them an advantage in that war. Spoilers, which is already spoiled for being on this list, they are trying to dig up Davros. This isn't one you watch for the story, and the longer that story goes on, the weaker it becomes, and the more the logic and continuity issues harm it. You're here for the fun, and it is fun. You see, the original script was written by Terry Nation, who first came up with the Daleks and who owned them, not the BBC. He could be a good writer, but he was prone to laziness, reusing elements over and over. Director Ken Greaves said the script needed to be, and was, vastly rewritten by script editor Douglas Adams. Yes, that's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy Douglas Adams. Adams said Nation never turned in a completed script, just a few pages. So this is mostly Adams's work, and Adams was much more interested in making his points with comedy than he was in worrying about the history of the Daleks or melodrama. So what part of Who canon was messed with? Here, the Daleks are robots. There's a few references to them being once organic, but here, just robots. And really dim robots controlled by simplistic logic. If you cling to canon, this might not be your cereal. The Mavellans, and their phenomenal sense of style, are also robots. Also ruled by simplistic logic, so the two forces can't beat each other as their logic modes perfectly counteract each other. Yeah, best not to think about it too much. As for Davros, played for the only time by David Gooderson, he does an acceptable job. My least favorite vocal performance, but it will do. Worse is the mask, which was made for previous actor Michael Wisher and doesn't fit Gooderson properly. This is the worst looking Davros. When he finally pops up, he yells about all kinds of things he will do, but he doesn't get a chance. He's more the MacGuffin everyone is after rather than a driving force himself. So is this story essential? No, but it is a good time. Number 4. The Magician's Apprentice and the Witch's Familiar, 2015. This is a divisive story in fandom. On the one hand, we've got the 12th Doctor's transformation from Season 8's socially awkward grump into the old rocker that he would be going forward, combined with Missy and Clara as a comedy duet, questing to find him, repeatedly. And on the other hand, we've got the Doctor's long conversation with the dying Davros. People tend to like one aspect of this or the other, but not both, and feel pretty strongly about it. And I count as people here as I have a preference. I love all the old rocker stuff. Only the 1st and 7th Doctors have changed this much. I didn't enjoy spending lots of time with the despairing and churlish Doctor that was in the previous season, but this new, fun but weird dude with a guitar? Yeah, him I want to spend time with. I've seen many complaints about him riding a tank out in the distant past as being silly. Maybe, but it's funny. It's also character development, showing us who this guy is now compared to who he was. And the stuff between him, Missy, and Clara is gold. But then they get separated, with Missy abusing Clara in various wonderful ways, and the Doctor has a boring conversation that goes on and on with Davros. Boring, but isn't that the really good character stuff, telling us about the Doctor and humanizing Davros? No, it's not. First, an aside, Davros is Hitler merged with Mengele. Do we need him humanized? I really don't want to sympathize with Hitler. But secondly, it doesn't do anything, because as is obvious from the start, Davros is lying from moment one. He's not opening up his soul. He's just talking to get the Doctor where he wants him. This is all a trap, of course, and the Doctor knows it's all a trap, so everything he says is a lie as well. Might there be some truth buried in what the two say? Maybe, probably not. Who knows? It doesn't matter because it's just a lot of words that get said for far too long until the trap is sprung. On the plus side, Julian Bleach makes for an excellent Davros. The voice acting is superb, and Davros has never looked better. But I do need to bring up one aspect that bothers me. Davros opens his eyes. His real eyes. What? Textually, Davros' eyes were burned out. He didn't just seal them away. Now, he could have replaced them or regrown them, but that brings up questions like, then why wouldn't he replace or regrow his legs? Ignore all that, because the metaphor is more important, and metaphorically, Davros is blind to the truth by his hatred. So opening his eyes is a problem for this story. And the story doesn't hold together since the ending implies Davros was connected to the life force of the decaying Daleks in the sewer. Really? Okay, it doesn't make less sense than several previous Davros stories, but it doesn't make more. Then there's all the stuff with Daleks not understanding the word mercy when we've had Daleks say mercy before.
Check your records again.
Mercy!
Say it again.
Mercy!
One more time.
Mercy!
And now all their vocabulary is controlled by the travel machine? Okay, next to Destiny of the Daleks, this is less egregiously messing with history, but it's still messing. This two-parter works when it's being funny, and works really well. When it's trying to be serious, not so much. Number 3. Remembrance of the Daleks, 1988. Oh, here we go. It's a big jump in quality for this list. And for Classic Who, as this was probably the best episode in nearly a decade. Like my number 5 choice, this is one of the best TARDIS team pairs. This time, the 7th Doctor, after his personality has been adjusted, and Ace, who is often called the template for New Who companions. But this story also has a good script, without plot holes everywhere, and no canon problems. Rather, canon enhancements. And also like Destiny of the Daleks, it's supposed to be a spoiler that Davros is involved. Luckily, it's obvious early on. The plot has the Doctor returning to Earth to retrieve the Hand of Omega, something he left here years before, and a faction of Daleks want it, while a different faction of Daleks plan to wipe out the first faction. Andrew Cartmel was the script editor, a position that combined with producer kinda equals New Who's showrunner, and had a vision for the show, making the Doctor mysterious again, and dangerous, and manipulative, which makes for an interesting Doctor. And that's in full effect here. The Doctor is twisting everyone around his finger. There's also several indications that the Doctor is not just any Time Lord. Gee, I wonder if there'll be any ramifications of that many, many years later. This is a smart, calculating Doctor, who's also funny. And Ace is what the show needed. She's impulsive, but not stupid. Her actions make sense, and she's no damsel in distress. No sitting around or screaming. She's bashing Daleks with a baseball bat. An iconic moment. The bat is technologically enhanced. If you're concerned it shouldn't be able to harm a Dalek. Hell, everyone's actions make sense. Even the soldiers act capably. We've got a pseudo-unit team that functions well and is fun. I would have been good with a few more episodes of these folks. And the best stories should say something. and this one says a lot, as it compares fascists to yet other fascists, and how they are self-defeating after causing a lot of pain. As for Davros, he's fine. It's Terry Malloy again, so he sounds good and looks good enough, but he's not really in the serial that much, and while it being Davros behind one team does add an extra layer, the story would have worked fine without him. This was a great Doctor Who serial, and he's a minor enhancement. Just another piece of what makes this work so well. If I have to find fault, and I do, then the score sounds like typical 80s TV action music, which sure, that's what this is, but I'd prefer better. And the effects at the end are a little dicey, but they did upgrade the effects for the Blu-ray, and that pretty much fixes that issue. It's hard to express how much better this is than the previous entries, and based on the quality of the episode alone, I might be inclined to move this higher, but this is a Davros list, and the top 2 do show him off better. Number 2. Genesis of the Daleks, 1975. And yet another of the greats. The Time Lords send the Fourth Doctor with companions Sarah Jane and Harry to the planet Skaro, deep into the centuries-long war between the Kaleds and the Thals. Their goal is to interfere with the creation of the Daleks, one way or another, which means meeting, for the first time, their mad genius creator, Davros. The Daleks were always metaphors for Nazis, but this comes close to text here, with the Kaleds dressed in black, giving Nazi salutes and ranting about purity. But unlike in the original Dalek story back in 1963, the Thals aren't pure and gentle, instead using slave labor in radioactive areas. There's no good guys. But then it shows the possibilities of everyone, as well as the failings. One mutations rejected by both sides, wants to kill Sarah Jane. Another saves her. A Kaled speaks reasonably to Sarah Jane and a muto when they are prisoners together. Situations create evil and good. Yeah, there's a lot going on here, particularly with theme. Perhaps the serial's greatest success is the vast number of characters that have character. I don't know that Doctor Who has ever been this successful in defining and even developing characters. 3 different scientists, a boy general, a chief of security, the muto who saved Sarah, a Thal female soldier, a Kaled prisoner, and I felt like I knew all these individuals and cared what happened to them, one way or another. As for Davros, he's in great form. Michael Wisher is the best Davros of the classic era, with a strong voice performance. And he looks good. Not as good as in New Who, but easily the best in classic Who. And we do spend time with Davros. Get to see a full-fledged psychopathic fascist in all his glory. There's a whole lot of reality here. He's terrifying. And while other Davros stories of the classic age could have been made without him, not this one. The Daleks are here and are a huge presence, but this is a Davros story. It all revolves around him. I'm sure some classic Who fans will be shocked that I put this in second place, as this is routinely placed as one of the best 5 episodes of classic Who, and I don't disagree with that. But hey, the top 3 of this list are all fantastic, absolutely must-sees, and I understand swapping them around. But there are a few slips here that keep it out of the top spot for me. Sarah Jane falls off a scaffolding for a cliffhanger that is resolved in a cheat by her being shifted over several feet in midair. Then there's the giant oyster. Ignoring the look of it, which is hard to do, was this something the story needed? No, is the answer. I don't know if they had some time to kill or felt they needed a monster for the kiddies, but it stands out in a bad way. And as a 6-part serial, there's a bit of filler. Yes, the oysters. But too much of getting caught, locked up, released, and the end conflict between Davros and the rebel scientists could have been tightened up. For new Who fans, the budget is noticeable, perhaps best demonstrated by the lack of numbers. There aren't enough soldiers or other workers, nor enough Daleks. A few more extras would have worked wonders. Those are little gripes in a great story. And number 1, The Stolen Earth, Journey's End, 2008. This is the grandest celebration Doctor Who ever had, more than the 3 Doctors, the 5 Doctors, or the Day of the Doctor. And it's the culmination of the RTD era. Well, RTD1. Often referred to as the Avengers of Doctor Who, it combines 3 TV shows and 10 story threads by my count, maybe more. I suspect if you're watching this, you know the story. But just in case, the 10th Doctor and Donna are trying to solve the mystery of missing planets, including Earth, while just about every Whoverse character of the last 4 seasons, including Rose, Martha, Captain Jack and Torchwood, Sarah Jane Smith, Mickey and Jackie, Wilf, and Harriet Jones, ex-Prime Minister, are responding to an attack from the Daleks. This is a celebration done right. It's peak directing and editing for Doctor Who. I don't think basic filmmaking skills have ever been better in the show, and I mean that up through 2025. It looks great, and the camera isn't just there, it's doing what it should, telling the story. And damn, the music. Murray Gold always elevates the show. The Dalek invasion is the best ever, and chilling, and that's made clear from the fear shown by Sarah Jane and Captain Jack. And there's a feeling of scale. It's not like there's 3 Daleks running around. And after the building tensions, the mysteries, the welcoming of old friends, and a touch of humor, we reach what is probably the finest cliffhanger in Who history, which is resolved in some pretty neat ways. The second half? Wow, does it play with the audience's emotions. The triumph of the flight home, followed by the uncertainty of the beach, which is in turn followed by the tragedy of the Dr. Donna? If Wilf is heartbroken, then so am I. And everyone gets the metaphor of the group flying the TARDIS, yes? It's exciting, fun, gripping, and a little cruel. And for Davros, it's Julian Bleach again under the mask and makeup, same as in The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar. And he does an excellent job and looks as good here as there. And we finally have a Davros story that works, thematically, with the first. It's never made sense that the Daleks would value or follow Davros. That's not what fascists do. It's why you never help fascists, because they will always turn on you since you are not one of them. And Davros is not one of them, which is made clear in Genesis of the Daleks, but forgotten after, until now.
You're the Daleks' pet!
At best, their cheerleader. So yes, this is my top Davros story, and easily a top 10 story of New Who. Top 5 for me personally. Just as Genesis of the Daleks and Remembrance of the Daleks are both top 10s for classic Who. And that's Davros. I think I'll be talking more about Doctor Who in the future. YouTube Who fandom needs a few old voices.